we can handle most of our business with the quorum that we have at the meeting. There's a few technical things that we can't do unless we have a representative from each community here. That said, I want to welcome everyone. You probably all know you're at the Pollyant Trail Management Council's January 2018 meeting. The council meets just about every month during the year. We take a couple months off, one in the summer and one in the winter because things slow down. I'd like to ask everyone to stand for a Pledge of Allegiance and a brief invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity to meet. Thank you for the sunshine on this cold, brisk day. Thank you for our trail and for all the residents here and all the people that can enjoy it. Thank you for this council and be able to watch over the trail and keep it in shape. And this we pray in your son's name. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, Council Member Curtis Wright has been drafted to do the minutes today. Because the trail manager who would ordinarily do that claims she has too much to do, but we'll move on with that. A quick reminder, if you have a cell phone, you may want to quiet it or mute it, just so it doesn't disturb someone if they do happen to be talking. That said, can we have a roll call for attendance of the Trail Council?
Chairperson McDonald.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Wright, present. Treasurer Steele.
Here.
Mr. Nichols.
Here.
Mr. Pearson, absent. Mr. South, absent. Mr. Slawinski, absent. Sue Bizzardi.
Here.
Kevin Green, absent. Okay, we have a quorum.
Very good, thank you. Okay, council has received a proposed agenda. I'm not aware of any new items, but does anybody else have anything they want to address? Donnie?
I would like to add item H and consider having a meeting in February.
Okay. All ready? Any objection to that or discussion? If none, yes.
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay, in a slight departure from our normal agenda, we're going to have a public hearing now. This public hearing is because I'd like to just give a brief summary so that in case you aren't exactly familiar with what's been proposed and what we're going to talk about. In the infinite wisdom of the legislature in cooperation with the Department of Natural Resources, new laws were passed in 2017. They were specifically Acts 138, 139, and 140. And they basically made it possible to use the motorized vehicle on non-motorized trails. A motorized vehicle being defined as an electric bicycle. And as you're probably aware, because I think most of us here drive, there are different classes of motorized and non-motorized vehicles. Bicycles have to be under a certain power specification and in order to remain and be considered and treated as a bicycle. So the legislature said, okay, we're going to let a motorized vehicle on the trails, and they left it up to the DNR and the local communities to determine what trails, if not all trails, will permit the electric bikes. In creating the law, they created 3 classes of electric bicycle. There's a class 1, class 2, and class 3. Starting with class 1, class 1 bikes are basically hybrids or assists. They use pedal, they all have to have pedals, any class. And they can be pedal powered, but type or class 1 bicycles are limited in top speed and the amount of power that they can generate for assist. Class 2 and class 3 take it up a notch each time for the amount of power and conditions under which they can be operated. The legislature left it open to locally authorized trail commissions or committees like the Pollyant Trail to decide what conditions, if any, that we would permit or allow electric bicycles on the trails, under our control. So, that said, we're here today to take public comment, pro or con, on whether or not electric bicycles should be permitted on the Pollyant Trail. In addition to the folks that are sitting here, we also have received a number of communications which the trail manager has managed and will convey to the council once we've received the verbal public comment today. And it'll be announced when we're done with this discussion. We'll note for the record that Mr. Pearson from Addison Township is now present, so we have a complete quorum. The conditions today are, is we'd ask that you address the council. We'll take your comments, they will be recorded, and the council may or may not elect to take action today, but it is on the agenda for action as the first item under new business. So if you have questions or comments, now would be the appropriate time. If you'd raise your hand and then step to the podium, we'd like to hear what you have to say. Is there any comments from the council members? Chris, right?
Would you like a motion to open the public hearing?
That would be great.
So I'll move to open the public hearing at 3:14 p.m.
Support.
Motion and supported. Are there any questions on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor of going into public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay. Any other comment from or questions from the council? If not, would anybody care to address this subject from the audience? Name and address, please, just so we know
I'm
who,
shy.
where.
My name's Jack Curtis. I live at 195 Grampian Drive, Oxford Township. I'm here today to show my support for Public Act 138, 139 regarding the use of electric bikes on improved trails. The maximum horsepower in all three categories is 1, with 750 watts. The difference in the three categories being the operation, while they all have pedals and seats, some allow you less pedaling to achieve the same as with pedaling. I come to you from a homeowners association, which I've talked to, which has about 20 people that are over 60 years old. We have no easy access to the Pollyant Trail or to the Oxford Township Safety Path. We're trying to get it extended to Grampian Drive, but we have to cross Lakeville Road to get onto the Pollyant Trail, or we have to drive about 900 feet on Lakeville Road itself with very little shoulder. The meaning that I'm here today to support is those of us that have conditions that do not deem us disabled. I've had 4 knee surgeries and cannot ride a bike anymore, to the point of pedaling my own self into town. It's a blessing that we have the electric bike initiative brought to you guys on the council for the Pollyant Trail, because it allows almost 20 people in our subdivision the opportunity to come and visit Oxford or Leonard or all the way up to Boardman Road, which is the last of the limestone improved trails. We can then drive all the way south to Lake Orion and visit Canterbury Village and things like that. But as it is right now, we're hampered by the unsafe conditions of crossing Lakeville Road, but also by our limited physical capabilities of pedaling what I call my old fat arse down the trail, because my knees just won't do it anymore. I retired 9 years ago, and in the past I would spend 3 to 4 days on the trail. I have family members that can ride bikes up to 30 miles an hour for 50 miles, 100 miles. They ride the trail. I can't do it with them anymore. I would seek that this council pass all 3 categories for use on the trail based on ease of enforcement, to not hamper our Sheriff's Department in trying to deem categories and classes of electric bikes. I know that Oxford Township has stepped up and bought 2 sheriff's bicycles so that they can patrol the Pollyant Trail. I just want to make their job easier by not having to look for a little tag, or bike manufacturer prior to this tag being required. And I would hope that this council would vote in favor of those of us who would still like to get out and enjoy the Pollyant Trail in its beauty and serenity and what limited physical exercise we can get. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Yes, sir.
Hi. Listen, yeah, this is what I picked up when I first got a bicycle, and it has to do with the, I'm sorry, Herb Parker, 2855 Walmsley Circle, Lake Orion, Michigan. This has to do with, the bottom line here is that basically it says this is the federal standards, I guess. I don't know what,
Right.
I can't read all these legalese. For the purpose of motor vehicle standards issued and enforced pursuant to Chapter 301 of the Title 49 United States Code for low-speed electric bicycles as defined in Section 38B of the Consumers Protection Safety Act shall not be considered a motor vehicle as defined by Section 301.026, Title 49 United States Code. So somebody's acted on this. Obviously, they still put it down to the, to the locals. I mirror everything you had to say here. Basically, I'm in the same boat. You had a stroke, you can't really, amazing how much strength you lose. And they just give you a lot of exercise. Basically, that's it.
So you are in for the electric bicycles?
Well, yes,
To be allowed on the
you guys
trail.
know what you're going to do, obviously, but, yeah.
Okay,
So,
great, thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else? Yes, sir.
Larry Kupsky, 1700 North Oxford Road, Oxford, Michigan. I am in favor of the electric bicycles without limit to the type. I am of the same group that has spoken so far. I can, praise the Lord, to date, ride a bicycle, but I don't ride too much because I don't want to get too far away from home and be in trouble not be able to get back because of whatever, knee or breath. I haven't rode in about 3 years because of that situation. And I would be in favor of all of the bikes with no limitation, especially the ones that don't have to be pedaled. Because if you've got a knee problem and you're out there and you have to assist, 2 of those require pedal assistance, if I read what was in the paper correctly. And I would be in favor of not having those limited, and certainly not have to take, it implies that possibly 2 of those you would have to have maybe physical requirements or the same as what you would for a handicap parking, and I would not be in favor of that type of restriction. implied to people.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dunn?
Bill Dunn, Oxford Township, or 14 Dennison, Oxford Village. I'm not going to be long-winded like Mr. Curtis or any of these other people, but I concur. I don't think we should limit anybody's ability to use those trails. Those trails are for everyone. And if you're if you're 70 like I am, I'm in very good health right now. But I want to continue being able to use the trails, view the scenery, watch the birds, and just enjoy myself in the outdoors. And I don't think we should limit it to just healthy people. Also, there's developments all through the community now in the villages. We're going to have some senior housing, I believe, possibly. We have a big development with 400 units just up the street, top of the hill, by the high school. So there's going to be potentially a lot of people that are going to be using this trail, and I don't think we should limit it to just healthy people. So I'm in favor of all classes of these electric bikes. I wouldn't want one going 100 miles an hour, but I think these lower speed limits would be just fine.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Hi.
Mike Coutier, 860 Thayer Road, Ortonville. I am definitely for the Class 1. I am the owner of 2 e-bikes. We initially had purchased one for my wife. She has some health issues. She is now able to ride with me. If we want to, or if I want to do a longer ride, she's able to keep up and we have more time together out riding. You know, like everybody else has said, with the health issues and everything, it gives more people opportunity to get out. I understand that a lot of people have concerns with the speed. Typically, most of the trails are 15 miles per hour, anywhere in the state or even across the country, and I've ridden numerous ones outside of Michigan. Even though the bike is going to go 20 miles an hour, for everybody that I've spoken to who either owns them or is looking for them, is between the ages of, let's say, 45 or so and up. People at that age don't want to go fast. They have no intention of going fast. And to do 20 miles an hour on an e-bike, having one personally, the reason I have one is I enjoy riding in the winter months, and with the cold weather, it's an issue, so that's really helped me. In order to do 20 miles an hour on a trail, I have to put as much effort forward because you still have to pedal these. You're still getting exercise. I still come home out of breath riding one. You still have to put forth the effort. To do 20 miles an hour down the trail, I have to put in almost as much effort forward as I do on my regular bike. I'm an avid cyclist. I've cycled thousands of miles each year, and comparing the two, yes, one helps me, and I'm not as exhausted when I get back, but I've had an incredible amount of exercise even with the e-bikes. The other thing I want to make mention of is with the cost of an e-bike, typically anybody that can afford an e-bike is going to be responsible enough to obey the courteous of other people on the trail. And, you know, you are going to have people that are going to go above the 15 miles an hour. You're going to have the people that throw litter down on the ground. You're going to have a lot of people who are on regular bikes, which the percentage is much larger with a regular bike. You're going to have more people doing over the 15 miles an hour than you would with people on the e-bikes because of the percentage. It's nothing for, not that I've ever gone over the 15, but it is nothing to do over 15 miles an hour on a regular bike, on any trail, rail trail, paved path. It's all about the person taking responsibility for their actions. you're going to have individuals that aren't going to follow the guidelines. That's just going to happen, no matter if it's an e-bike or a regular bike. So I am totally for it. I hate to see anybody left out that would like to get out and ride. And we do a lot of riding up in the northern Michigan communities, and the amount of people on e-bikes, and it's of the older generation, is just phenomenal how many people there were this past summer season. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Ellen Delater. I own the property on the trail, and I live in Lakeville at 733 Manitouk. Lakeville 48366. Anyway, I agree with everybody except I don't think we should have a restriction. I don't know a whole lot about the bicycles, but I don't think we should restrict it for the reasons that it makes it more difficult. Who's gonna, I don't know what the difference is between 1 and 3 category in a bike, but who's going to want to chase people around? If they're going too fast, I don't think it matters what category bike you're in. Or if they're acting dangerous, running into people or whatever that might happen. I think you have that with walkers, you know. I mean, people can be irresponsible. I have more problems with trespassers, and those are all walkers. So I totally agree, and I don't think we should restrict it. And I'm a lot older than that guy that's 45, okay?
Thank you. Anybody else?
You can look down over here. All right.
Go for it.
Neil Peruski, 694 Patricia Court, Oxford. I've been a resident since 2004, so I've seen a lot of the development of the trail and the bridge put in and all that good stuff. I'm going to sound heartless at first. Bear with me, please. I meant to have some friends here with me, but they didn't realize till today it was a 3 p.m. meeting and it just didn't work out with their schedules. But anyways, I traded some emails and some texts with them. We did some research, some of it coming from the Michigan Mountain Biking Association, because they have the stamps on these bikes as well. In general, I'm against the use of any of the bikes on the trail. It was developed as a non-motorized corridor. At its heart, that's really what it is. Of course, times change, technology changes. These bikes weren't even around when the trail was developed. Kind of the 4 big points that get made in favor of the bikes. We've already heard about the physical challenges and so forth. There are already laws on the books regarding use of electric personal mobility assist devices for people with disabilities on this type of non-motorized trail. So there are already laws in the books permitting that. Certainly not as fast or as efficient as some would like, but there are laws on the books that address that. Some people might say that the e-bikes are not a traditional motor vehicle, and certainly that's a gray area, but we still call a Toyota Prius is still a car, and it's powered by a battery, so is a Chevy Volt and Teslas and so on and so forth. They're still automobiles, even though they are running on battery power. A bike with a battery motor is a motorized vehicle, if you use the same logic. Some people might say that they are extremely similar to just a regular pedal bike. And for classes 1 and 3, that is true a bit, because the classes 1 and 3, just for further clarification, require the user to be pedaling the bike for the assist to take place. The class 2 you don't even have to pedal it. It is a throttle only, which sounds a lot like a low-speed motorcycle. And even though 20 miles an hour doesn't sound fast, because we're all used to driving in our cars at 55, 60 miles an hour and all, 20 miles an hour on a bike is fast. It is very fast. The class 3 bikes go up to the assist cuts out at 28 miles an hour. That's faster than the average speed of the Tour de France riders during their race. That is extremely fast. 20 miles in a car doesn't feel like it. 20 miles an hour on a bike is a very fast speed. And finally, certainly making these bikes more available to use on the trails and so forth would increase participation. One danger that comes along with that is people like me and the people that I ride with, yes, I admit we go faster than 50 miles an hour occasionally. We've developed that over quite a few years of riding, and we've also developed the ability to handle that speed when we are going that speed. For someone to walk into a bike store and be able to go 28 miles an hour and not have the handling skills to go with it, when we have horses out on the trail and pedestrians and so forth, might just be something to consider. Those who have learned to be able to go that fast at speed, we know we see a horse 100 yards away, we basically come to a complete stop and ask them to wave us around when it's safe. We know how to pass pedestrians, to call out that we're passing on the left and to slow down to do so. For someone just to automatically be able to go 20 plus miles an hour without having those skills in place could cause some issues on the trail. So, like I said, I don't want to come across as heartless. So should you consider allowing e-bikes of some kind, as much of a headache as it might be with enforcement, I would strongly suggest you do not allow anything past Class 1. The Class 2, it's basically a moped with big wheels on it. Class 3, up to the 28 miles an hour. I ride with people who race bikes, and we rarely, on a flat, we would never hit 28 miles an hour. If that's a downhill type speed, that is extremely fast. So if you're going to consider them, I would highly encourage Class 1 for many of the reasons that people have shared up here. Certainly want to recognize those, but to have an all-out e-bikes allowed across the board, any classification, sounds like opening up a pretty big can of worms here. Anyways, thank you. Thank you for all you do for the trail. I've been around the country on different trails, and I love to be in a community, and we have this trail. I can't wait till if Lapeer ever gets on board and starts doing more with theirs and all. It's just awesome. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Let me see if anybody hasn't spoken yet, and then, yeah, yes, sir.
My name's Don Richmond, 3235 Davison Lake Road, Ortonville. I'm a coach of the track distance and cross-country teams at Oxford High School, and we probably use the trail as much, if not more, than anyone, since I have 40-some kids each all fall and all spring, that use it pretty heavily. So I have great interest in the decisions that are made for this. I do have an opinion that the Class 1 bike, I'm all for it. The Class 2, Class 3, I wouldn't be in favor of that. I absolutely think that the elderly and people with physical challenges should have access to the trail and open up that opportunity for them to enjoy it just like the rest of us. I think that's wonderful. I come here primarily with more with some questions rather than opinions. Things that I thought of as I read the article in the Oxford Leader. Things that maybe you could research before making the decision that I would suggest. So, number one would be, and Linda mentioned in the article that there's difficulties with enforcement. Adding the electric bikes opens up the need for some enforcement or control, especially if you have distinctions between classes that can ride on the trail and can't. And I don't know how that would be managed. I don't know how difficult or if that's even possible. I don't know if currently the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit is even enforced, or how it's done, and this would make it more complicated for them. So I have concerns about that. Second question would be, would it be possible to have a trial period that we could attempt this, and maybe a year or 6 months, and get a feel for if there are the issues that people are concerned about. Maybe we're just guessing that these things would happen, and they aren't really valid concerns. So maybe a trial period would be considered. And then finally, if in other places in the country, on trails where the electric e-bikes have been used, do we have any statistics about what the experiences are of those trails? If they've had good or bad experiences, if there are statistics to back up whether there's more accidents or less accidents or that type of thing. So those are the things that I would suggest we look into before we really make the decision, see if any data like that is possible. So, but thank you for letting me speak, and good luck in making this decision.
Thank you. Anybody else that hasn't spoken yet? Yes, sir, go ahead.
My name is Steve Gailey. I'm a business owner in Lake Orion. It's a bicycle shop. And this year, we're just going to begin to start selling e-bikes, generally the Class 1. I've ridden a few of them as a lifelong cyclist. Initially, I was very much against e-bikes. I'm a pure cyclist. That's all I've ever done. I almost felt like cheating. But as I've learned more about this, I've had an employee, actually a past employee, that had a problem with her leg, and the only way she could ride a bicycle was an e-bike. And we bought a bike for her to try. She's even done a few mountain bike trails with it. She's had a great time. And this is a public use trail. There's a lot of people that are limited that can't use it without the e-bike. I'm really totally committed to it right now. I think it's a great idea. And the Class 1 especially it's just, I can't see where there could be any real conflicts or issues with this bike. I've ridden them. To get that bike, as the gentleman said earlier, to get that bike to 20 miles an hour takes a huge effort.
No.
Yeah, whatever. You know, most people that are going to be on those bikes are going to be going 12 or 14 miles an hour, and the average the average cyclist like myself is going way faster than that. Again, like Neil said, I'm breaking the speed limit all the time.
But not over 15 on Pontiac Trail.
Oh,
No, I'm teasing, that's right, no.
only the roads leading up to it and leaving it, yes.
Well, and that's, our primary concern and consideration of this matter is that we didn't want the bikes to come on the trail without having some discussion and taking steps to address the concerns, just like we would with any different use. So I didn't mean to interrupt, please continue.
No, and that's okay. And if I think about the things that are on the trail that I've ever felt threatened by was, and they should be out there too, are horses. They scare the daylights out of me. And e-bikes going 15 miles an hour, I cannot see it being an issue at all. You know, the Class 3 is debatable. Some of those bikes are coming out and they'll go 28 miles an hour. So, and I know it's harder to enforce, but if we're really concerned about safety, which I think we are, that might be one to take a look at not doing. But again, the Class 2, which is just throttle operated, I understand the argument about it just being, electric moped or whatever. But there are some people with some issues that sometimes they're going to get so winded or so tired that they're going to need just that throttle to get back. They want to go out and do a 10-mile ride. So I kind of understand that class of bike also. I don't sell anything like that, but I get that argument also. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Steve, what class do you sell?
Class 1. Oh, and, sorry.
Sure, go right ahead.
There's a range. We can talk about it after this, but I don't want to sound like I'm trying to make a sales pitch. In fact, you asked me the question, you got me out of my thought now. If there's any concern to anyone on the board or anyone else in here, I have bikes that are set up as demos. Go out and ride one. Legally they're not allowed on the trail yet, but ride it someplace. Try it. You'll be surprised. We're not going to be kicking up dirt or flying around the trail. I mean, it's just an assist. That's all it really is. So, thank you again.
Thank you.
That's just a one-time price.
Yes, sir.
I can't get by.
Good afternoon. Gene McNabb, 680 Silver Bell, Orion Township. A couple of gentlemen had hit the word on disability, and I don't know how that works, but one gentleman said you have to qualify for disability to fall under the act that allows you to use these trails. Well, some people may not qualify for that disability, like the one gentleman said. and then they wouldn't be allowed to use the e-bike or whatever type of means on this trail. The speed on the trail, I ride all the time. I've been out there and I don't consider myself slow. Unfortunately, I'm breaking the law. And I get blown by these race teams on that trail. You know, they're running, I know what I'm running, and you've all seen it.
We're all very familiar with
You
the
know what
speeds.
they're running, so
Right.
even the 28 mile an hour speed bike, I don't think is going to be the top speed on that trail with somebody riding a regular cross-training bike on that trail. The age of the people on these bikes, I think they're going to be responsible enough. You're going to get the occasional kid that soups up a bike, and you probably get that now. You get the quads, you get the snowmobiles, you get the kids out there that put motors on a regular bike. I don't see that as being a big issue. The safety, Mr. Geely touched on a little bit. My biggest safety concern is, I know how to approach horses. You see them, you slow way down, you wait for the horse rider to wave you by, you go by, and sometimes the horse is going from side to side and blocking the trail. That's an issue, but they've got a right to be out there too, just like we do. And a guy not knowing how to ride by a horse, he's going to blow by a horse, and there is, I think, a bigger safety concern with a horse kicking than the e-bikes are. And another gentleman made a comment that the board can revisit this at any time they want. They could pass it now and not pass it now. They could pass it now, and if they see problems coming up, they can bring it again an agenda and make limitations. So I'm in support of all of them. I don't see a problem with it. I think it's a great way to get everybody out and use those trails. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else that hasn't spoken? Yes, sir.
Dan Reed, 440 Davis Lake Road, Oxford. I'm all for it. I just think that people ride sections of the trail now, people that are real aggressive bike riders, and I think it would open up the ability for people to see a lot more of the trail. There's a lot more out there, obviously all the connections that are happening, so I'm all for it. Obviously, you don't want to have motorcycles zooming up and down the trail, so keep that in mind.
All right, thank you. Anybody else that hasn't spoken yet? Cody? I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, I heard corporate. Oh, gosh. I just had a couple of notes here. As far as the reckless driving, isn't it against the law anyhow? Like if you run into a group of people with your bicycle, no matter what it got?
Sure, that's a personal
I thought that
injury.
might be-
That's a personal injury accident, you're right.
I thought that might be illegal. So that eliminates a lot of the worries, because if you do it, it's not right. And then regarding the law on the books, well, the federal government says it's not, e-bike's not a bike, they're not motorized, so there you go. The throttle only, I guess I have a throttle only, I don't know, but when I go for a bike ride, I'm still not real strong, and there's a hill over by me, and basically I use it for assist up the hill. Most of the bike ride, in fact, probably the rest of it is all me pedaling the bike without having the motorized assistance, which I prefer. It's just, you're riding a regular bike. Anyhow, that's and 20 miles on a bike, I don't go that far. I took a bike ride with my grandson a few years ago, and we were on regular bikes. And we get up to Canterbury, and he has an asthma attack, and he is dying. I mean, I don't even want the kid, I don't even ask him to go on a bike ride anymore, but if he had a moped, he could make it. I haven't bought him a moped because he does fine, but I don't go on bike rides with him. And if you're older and you have asthma or whatever, you can't go. That's all, anyhow, thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. Anybody else that would care to address the council? Well, I want to tell you that I heard some very intelligent points made, and everybody was very courteous, and the council and I appreciate that, because like you, we really like the trail too, and we want to keep it nice and safe and try and serve as many residents and visitors as we possibly can, as long as it's done safely. Before we close the public hearing, Linda, would you give us a summary of the number of electronic or post office mailings that you received on this topic?
We received 6 yeses for the class 1 on the trail, and we received 2 no. Basically, they mirror exactly the comments we heard today. People with, aged, infirmed, or disabled. There's a lot of different types of disabilities. I mean, I still ride, but I'm not that many years away from needing to assist up a hill. I think the points that everybody has brought forward is very valid, and I think we've hit about on everything.
Okay. All right, well, that'll be entered, those results will be entered into the record too. Donnie, did you have something?
I was just gonna say, Linda couldn't make personal comments at this point. I was cutting you off, that's all.
Thank you. Okay, with that said then, I'd like to ask for a motion to close the public hearing, and then we will continue with our agenda, and we will consider this under new business, which shouldn't take us too long to get to, I hope.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming. It is an awkward time of day for a lot of people to attend the meeting. Mr. Chairman?
Revisit this? Are we revisiting this today?
Yeah, it's on
Well, then,
new business.
I would suggest people don't leave, because there may be a time that they can comment in public.
Right. Mr. Wright?
Yeah, those are
Public comment,
commented.
we're still going to redress this, so you might,
Well, things to do, so, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, though. Those are commented, if you please sign the sign-in sheet so I can get your name spelled correctly for the minutes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
make a motion that we close the public hearing at 3:49.
Support.
Thank you. So that was a motion by Elgin and supported by Ms. Nichols, or Mrs. Steele. All in favor of the motion to close the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Council received in the packet the minutes of the November meeting, I believe it was, and also treasurer's report along with the bills to be paid in November and December. So, as well as the trail manager written reports. So is there a motion then on the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion that we go ahead with the consent agenda.
So that would be bills in the amount of, what was, do you have the total? Trey?
$5,905.35.
Is that for both months?
Yes.
Okay. Is that agreeable, Bruce, for your motion?
Yes.
Okay. And support remains? Was there support?
Support, and I have a comment too about the minutes.
Go ahead.
There, on the minutes, and I know you made the motion, Bruce, but on the minutes, there was a vote to pay for the library signs, and it just wasn't motioned or moved or voted on in the minutes, and I just think the minutes reflect that. I had made the motion, Sue had seconded it to approve the purchase of the signs of $308.80. So if I could have take that comment as well.
So you're saying we should amend the minutes to reflect that?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Let me find it here real quick, I hope. Linda, your note.
It was under the trail manager's report.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what happens when you do that. So we're going to amend the minutes to reflect the motion, or the authorization that was made. Motion was by Donnie,
And supported by Sue.
supported by Sue, to authorize the money for the library signs. And I assume we did a roll call, and that was approved. So we will amend these minutes to reflect that. Is there any other points, Curtis?
On a couple of the bills, we're paying sales tax on some of the purchases. Do we not have exemptions on those?
Was that Koenig's?
Koenig and Progressive Plumbing Supply.
They were going to refund the tax. So
Koenig is?
Yeah, and then also the plumbing.
Oh, okay.
So they were having a problem with their new computer system. I will check on that. So they should have refunded that.
Do we need to submit an exemption certificate? Do you know?
I gave them one.
Oh, they do have one?
Yeah, they do have one. They just did it.
It happens.
It happens. So
Okay, if there's nothing further, then we'll have a roll call vote on the consent agenda as amended.
Member Pearson?
Yes.
Member Nichols?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wright, yes. Chairperson McDonald?
Yes.
Member Bizardi?
yes.
And Member Steele?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay. Our agenda has another opportunity here for public comment. If you're here for a particular issue that is on the agenda, that you will have an opportunity to speak at that time if you see fit, but it won't be as part of a public hearing. Anybody have a comment they'd like to address to the council regarding the Pollyant Trail on another topic? Yes, sir. Curtis. I'm going to remember that name.
Okay, now that our track and field person is here, just, it brought up another subject. If we would walk the Pollyant Trail between State Street and the, let's say Grampian, and look at all the goat paths that you have to access the trail. You have people walking across Lakeville Road in many different places, but they're significant. There's 3 places that they cross. I watched the middle school track kids try to cross Lakeville Road, and they were waiting for the light to turn there at Wildcat Drive. But in between the light to change and the traffic coming, I mean, these kids are all just lined up on a trail. The Oxford Lake subdivision is another real big goat path. They cross there, and these are real dangerous. I mean, we have one down by Grampian that's an AT&T bridge that goes to their control panel that we can cut through there and get in there. We should have some sort of consideration for crossing when that trail is so close to Lakeville Road like that. I know as it starts veering to the northeast, once you get to Hosmer Road, it's not such a traumatic thing, but I watch a lot of kids and a lot of people park in the elementary school and walk their bikes across, and they use that goat path, but it's pretty dangerous. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And our trail manager has mentioned the need to do some work along there. So time and effort will be expended.
I'm always looking for volunteers.
Yeah. Okay. If there's no further public comment, we'll move on then. Our citizen representative is not present today. He was excused. He's out of the area. Trail manager's report. Council received a written copy. Perhaps our trail manager can hit the highlights and expedite the process a little.
All right, let's see. Under unfinished business, we ordered the library signs that we had discussed earlier. One was installed, 2 were not. We lost the weather. Thanks to Max Steele, he helped me out a lot there. We did turn the matter for the Tanview trespass over to the ordinance officer for the Oxford Township. Letter was sent. We do have that on file. We should be getting some response shortly. The Boardman trespass case has gone to court. It's been settled. Restitution was paid, and
By the
defendant. Yes.
defender, right.
The defendant did pay restitution and has 6 months, 180 days to actually repair the trail or face further sanctions. I'm working on the 5-year plan. Anybody that has an extra 700-800 hours, give me a call. I'm trying to figure out some way to do it on the cheap and hopefully good. We'll see. Stay tuned. New business. We applied for the 4th round Iron Bell grant money for new Wayfinder signs, the 4x4 map signs that we have on the trail. We are eligible at this time for 12 signs. I got a cost, got a breakdown, apply for that. Hopefully we should be hearing something by next month if we got the grant or not. With that being said, I would like to go forward into this year and getting the rest of the signs redone throughout the trail, total of 30 signs. So they're about $190 a sign not installed. So to get them installed, they're anywhere from, it depends on if I can steal some posts, and if William can do it, or if I have to do it. I attended the SimCog meeting. I am now representing the trails with our Southeast Michigan local governments. So we are going to be doing some fact-finding, some planning for the futures of trails and parks, recreational resources in the state of Michigan in this area. I do have my wish list for 2018 as on the agenda. I basically am finishing up some projects. That's pretty much it, and my wish list as far as materials I will need for next year. The one, probably the most important, is trail cameras. We do have trail cameras on the trail at this time. I'm looking at possibly increasing those. I did find a network of the trail cams that we have right now. They will link up to 15 to the mother camera. They update every 30 seconds. So if one of those cameras is stolen or damaged, it will let the mother camera know. So we will know, and it will also continue to take pictures at anywhere on the link. So if camera 5 goes out of 10, 1 through 4 will still continue to take pictures, but will not send to the mother camera. Then, if 5 is damaged, 6 through 10 will go to the mother camera. It's done remotely, so we don't have to actually access the cameras every time we take the photos out. I think it would be a good asset. I'd like to see about getting a network of those going. The network of 4 cameras are run about $750. That does not include the SIM cards, nor does it include the bear cages. We have to have those bear cages. It's the only way we can keep them safe. You can actually shoot those things and it won't damage the cards. So that's it. That was quick.
All right. As always, put together some numbers when you're ready to move on it. Well, get some, we'll need bids, some quotes. So. Okay, any questions on from the council for the trail manager? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on to new business. First item of business is the electric propelled bicycles on the Pollyant Trail. Just to recap, we're here doing this because January 28th, the law takes effect, and we need to have a decision before then, at least what we're going to do, or what we're not going to do, or what we're not going to allow. It'd be foolishness not to take advantage of the opportunity that we have, and we've done that by having the public hearing. So I will open it up to the council at this point for discussion at this point. At least each council member should have an opportunity to address it before a motion is made. So I'll start with ladies first. Donnie?
I really appreciate all the comments today because you have brought to light some things that I probably had not thought of. One is the monitoring of the past 1, 2, or 3, and if you're opting into all 3, then you don't have to have the monitoring. So, which leads me further from my original thought of opting out completely, because this would be the time to opt out completely. And my biggest experience is that I am also on the Paint Creek Trail Commission, and it is the #1 used trail in the state of Michigan, and the amount of users that are on that trail on a daily basis is extraordinary. And I think the reason why it has so much use is because of the proximity of being directly between Rochester and Orion. And I think that the Pollyant Trail doesn't see that kind of traffic because we're still kind of a little bit more rural. But I do believe that we are definitely headed for that kind of usage on our trail. And our biggest complaint, problem, safety issue is our bicycles on the trail. And that is my biggest concern on that trail. I'm having this opting in for the electric bicycles because of it being such an issue on the Paint Creek Trail. We've tried the bells, we've tried the education, we've gone to the schools, we've done pamphlets, we've done, I've been on the trail for 5 years, so we've done a lot to try to educate the public on keeping the bikes at a minimum speed and to, and we have horses, we have horses too, and that's always a collision waiting to happen as well. So I think that the Pollyant Trail is just a matter of time, especially as it becomes an Iron Bell connector, that we'll have the same issue. And I think that by opting in, we're just asking for, we don't have the patrol on the trail. We don't have the money for the patrol on the trail. We only have one manager that patrols the trail, and it's twice the length of the Paint Creek Trail, so you have twice the amount that you have to patrol. You have kids that can ride the bike that are only 14 years old, which is a very huge concern, that you can have an opting 2 and a 3, and you can have 14-year-olds that can go up to 38 miles an hour, and I think that's the speed in which you can reach on level 2 and level 3. If you only have one, then you have to follow the stickers, and do you have a sticker 1, do you have a sticker 2, do you have a sticker 3? I think that that is huge, cumbersome, and I think that instead of opting in because it's the thing to do and it's new and it's exciting, that I think that what we do is opt out, but have other people vet this out a little bit better, and then we can opt in at a later date, and then that way we wouldn't have to worry about all the expense of the monitoring of the bike. And I know that the prices are expensive right now, and so the users are going to be limited. However, I think that that will change, just like the electric cars change. So those are my extended comments.
Thank you. Sue?
I didn't have that many extended comments.
No, I mean, no comments required, I'm just
No,
trying to make sure everybody has an
I do want to
opportunity.
make a comment because I am in favor of it, but I would like to do it as a trial if it's possible to do that. I haven't had knee surgery, but I do have issues, and I think it would be a great opportunity to allow more people to use the trail.
When I first heard about this, I had real concerns because of the safety. That seems to be and remains our number one priority. However, I think that we can manage this with some rules and regulations or a policy. I think the council should adopt a policy if we decide to allow them. And contrary to what the easy route would be to say, okay, we'll let all 3 classes on the trail. The state's only allowing class 1. They've already gone on record for that. We can allow class 2 or class 3 because the law I'm not sure the law provides for it, but the DNR regulations state that. But I think if we look at class 1 and in our policy give the trail manager some authority that if someone has a different class bike, that she can have the discretion to review it and make a determination on whether or not it should be allowed on the trail. I'm sure there are conditions that can be made in place. So I'm flexible on that. Mr. Wright?
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns myself about putting motorized vehicles on a trail that's advertised as non-motorized. So having heard the comments here today has given me a little more perspective of what people are expecting out there to be able to use the trail. But for me, any vote that I do here would be no more than a Class 1 vehicle this time. Another issue that I have is, I don't know, has this been adopted by the Paint Creek Trail?
We were going to have I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
We were going to have a public meeting on it, and yesterday's meeting, but they didn't have advertised it in time to be able to have it as a public meeting, so it'll be on the next agenda, and their thoughts are concerned about having any of 1, 2, or 3. Is what I've heard in the background that they'd probably opt out of all three, just from comments from the other commissioners.
Okay.
But the deadline's the 20th of January. Is that your meeting before then?
No,
So you.
I don't know what that, I don't know that they missed it. I don't know what that entails.
So anything from my vote being a class one, the enforcement to me is a big issue because once you open the door for something, it tends to get bigger. I think that could raise an issue for this council for addressing the issues that could occur. Also, the management of it, who's going to manage this, who's going to control this. What I'd like to see too is that if that's the case, then the people using a motorized vehicle is registered with the Pauline Trail Council. So we know that you're an authorized user of the vehicle. I'm sure there's other registration requirements that are part of the law itself. I'd also like to know what is the process to rescind this action if it's taken in the affirmative. Do we have that opportunity to actually rescind it once it's put in motion? I would imagine.
Yes, we can initiate it. My understanding is that, yes, we can initiate it. We can opt out now, we can opt to regulate as we're discussing, and later on, if we need to make changes, since we are the managers of this trail, that the law provides that we make those decisions.
Then just the insurance coverage. More insurance cover any type of liability that occurs.
That's a good point. We should look into that. Anything else?
That's all for now.
Okay. Mr. Nichols? I'm saving the best for last, Bruce. Go ahead, Elton. Sorry.
Okay, honestly, I agree with Donnie Steele and her concerns, and also everybody's voiced that of safety, which is my major concern as well. I have learned a lot by listening to the people that have come before the microphone. Originally, I was against this, and I thought perhaps it wasn't a good idea. Now I've changed my mind to some degree here. I like the idea of Class 1 being stipulated, and also the ability for the trail manager to make a change to that, make an exception under certain conditions. I believe that the insurance issue is a major concern, as Chris Wright has pointed out, and we need to check into that as well. Find out what kind of liability is involved. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson?
Well, I've got a lot to say about this, okay? I own...
Well, you don't have to repeat what we've already heard, so...
I own two of the e-bikes. It's a number 2 e-bike, which has a throttle. It's terrific. I don't know if you guys have ever ridden them. I've taken the time to ride them. I've researched it for the last couple of years. I've gone down to Metro Beach, where they ran out the Pedigo, which are very expensive, the top of the grade bikes. They're very popular. They rent them out. There's whole groups, tourist attraction. Everybody rides the bikes down there. They're extremely safe. The Class 2 is really not a whole lot different. That's what I have. You ride the bike normally like a 10-speed bike. It has the gears on the side, and 90% of the time you're just pedaling. You come to a little rise in it, you just give it a little bit of energy, it gets you up the hill, you release it, and you ride the bicycle as a normal bicycle again. I have extreme asthma, as you know. My son is disabled. I tell you where we get the more problems, it's a regular bicyclist going at a huge speed on there. And as you know, Cody has a disability handicap sticker on the golf cart, and people, make all kinds of rude remarks to us for anybody with a handicap to go on there. As far as I'm concerned, I think that everybody's responsible on that trail for their own actions. And if they get on the trail and they do 28 miles an hour, and that's only the Class 3 that does that. The Class 2 and the Class 1 are limited. If you look at the wattage, you'll see that it's 750 wattage or less.
So the 500 watt is what I have. If you look at the statistics right now, one in 3 bikes in all of Europe right now are electric bikes are sold. The United States right now is 1 in 10, but it's catching up quickly. When it comes to riding on the trail, once again, you talk about the insurance. Well, I don't know how much insurance the regular bicyclists have who are pedaling at 30 miles an hour down the trail or whatever. I don't know how much insurance the horses have. They're on the trail if somebody gets hurt, but you are, as a person, responsible for everything that you do. So I would think that if you wanted insurance, everybody should just get a blanket policy on their homeowner so they're covered on anything that they do. So, and that's very reasonable, very cheap. But as far as limiting the bicycles, I would say not. I see the benefits. I see down in Florida. I'm the youngest person down in Florida, but down there you'll see these bikes everywhere, and everybody's using them, and you'll see them riding. I don't see any reckless people. I don't see anybody. I mean, you can buy a 500 horsepower Mustang, but you can only go 75 miles an hour on the expressway. So no matter how you look at it, you can probably put a bicycle out there that has 100 horsepower, but you can still only go 15 miles an hour. So once again, it's the responsibility of the person that's riding the bike, and I think we're creating a problem before the problem exists. So that's all I have to say about it.
Okay.
Good thing we have a
Okay. Well, we do have options. We can, if we take no action, then January 28th, to the best of my understanding, a Type 1 electric bicycle may be used on any non-motorized path controlled by the DNR or a local agency if it has not taken action. Okay, that's my understanding. So we can do nothing. We can approve with conditions, we can disapprove and disapprove with conditions. Sounds like the one condition is maybe a year's test period, where we would come back and revisit it, at which time we may or may not make changes, and that would be in light of approval or disapproval. My sense is that the council's in favor of it, and I think greatly swayed by what we've heard today, especially from both sides of the issues regarding electric bikes. But it would be appropriate to have a motion now, and I'd like to suggest to council that we consider putting a time limit or a time period of a year at least to test this and see if we need to, revisit it, and that we follow the lead of the state and we allow the Class 1 electric bicycles, with the caveat that we adopt a policy where in special circumstances the trail manager would have the authority on our behalf to allow a Class 2 bicycle. Class 3 bikes are a whole different problem because you're required, as I understand it from my reading, you're required to have a helmet when you ride those as well. But as far as enforcement, look, we have a problem. We have many problems with enforcement, but I think it would exacerbate the problem not to try and put some controls on the type of electric bicycle we allow on the trail. If there's a problem and somebody is hurt, injured, or caught by law enforcement, or they will get addressed and they will be held responsible. But I'm leery of giving license at this stage to the faster, more powerful bicycles. We can revisit it, as I said, but that's my recommendation to the council. What is the pleasure of the council?
I'd like to make a motion. I'd make a motion that we allow the the Class 1. And then if anybody does want to ride the Class 2 and 3, they should just register it with the trail manager, and then you know who's out there. And if anybody abuses that, we should have them on record, and somebody could bring that to the attention of the board. But as far as I'm concerned, Class 1 and Class 2 are acceptable, but if you want Class 2 to be registered, that's fine too. But I would make the motion that, well, actually, I'll change it. I'll make the motion that Class 1 and Class 2 be allowed on the trail, and Class 3, if you want to ride that on the trail, then that should be registered with the trail manager. Any second?
Is there a second? Doesn't sound like it. Want to try it again, Bruce?
Well, we can try that. I'll make a motion that Class 1 be automatically allowed on there, and Class 2 and 3 could be registered with the trail manager. If those were, if they're registered, they could be allowed on the trail.
Subject, would you consider subject to conditions set forth? In other words, there would be medical necessity or other extenuating circumstance?
If you're talking about, not everybody.
For Class
can
2 or
get a
3.
handicap. Not everybody can get a handicap, a lot of people are disabled, so if they can explain to the trail manager that they have a disability, then I would accept Class 2 and Class 3 under those auspices.
Okay, well, I'm sure we're confusing Mr. Wright, trying to discern emotion out of this. If I'm hearing it right, Mr. Pearson is suggesting that, or his motion is that that we would permit Type 1 or Class 1 electric bicycles on the Pollyant Trail, and that Class 2 and Class 3 would be permitted subject to registration with, or subject to authorization from the trail manager due to specific conditions.
Right.
Yeah, special need or specific need.
I would support that motion.
Okay. Is there a time, can we do this for us?
We'll take it for 1 year and see
For
how
1
it
year?
goes.
I think that's a good motion. Yeah, Elgin, would you have a problem with that?
No.
As far as
Sounds
support?
good.
Okay.
Yeah, support it.
Okay, we have a motion and a support. Is there any discussion on the motion by the council? Donnie?
I guess I would like to hear from the trail manager of the process of being able to monitor 2 and 3 and the stickers of 2 and 3, and she's going to be responsible for registering, and then they're going to come to the board, and then we're going to say yes or no for each sticker. And
No.
I mean, when you say that she's going to monitor it and that she's going to give approval for 2 and 3, this is the thing when you make these laws, as small as these laws are, is you have to have someone that implements them, and it so happens to be able to fall on the council and your trail manager. So you have to think about it as you make this law of how we're going to handle this, because
Right.
it's more than just a motion. Somebody's got to follow through on it. That's my comment, and I would like to hear from the trail manager of her experience, who she's talked to. How does this tear up the trail? Does it tear up the trail by going faster? When you can drive in the winter, when you can drive in the mud, now that you have an electric motor on it, that you can use the trail when normally you wouldn't. What's that going to do to our limestone? All those things that need to be taken into consideration. I certainly think that we should hear what she has to say before we take a vote.
Okay, any other council member before we refer it to Linda? Yes,
Just to
Mr.
clarify
Wright.
the motion was an authorization for the trail manager. There's nothing mentioned about registering the vehicle.
Right, yes. Just a moment, sir. Okay, any other comment from the council? Linda, would you address what Mrs. Steele?
Well, at the end of the day, whether it's Class 1, Class 2, or Class 3, the speed limit is still 15. Bikes and bike riders typically should not be out on the trail during thaws. They wreck the trail. Our trail is a little bit forgiving as far as some of the running. We do grade it twice a year, and it does restore itself somewhat. I really don't see a problem with the Class 1 at all. Class 2, marginally, I don't have a problem with that. I think registering is going to be exceedingly difficult. We have a lot of people, especially when the e-bikes come in from out of the area, to register these things. They're not going to know that they have to register. You know, it's going to be, you know, how do you know if that guy out on the trail is registered with me and not registered? You know, he could say, well, yeah, I called somebody. I think the...
Well, I think most people are going to know or learn
Right.
that the state allows Class 1 on
Right.
state trails.
And
that's the commonality and the uniformity, I think,
Right.
that we need to look at. Beyond that, we're going the next step, at least Bruce's motion is going the next step and saying, okay, if somebody has a Class 2 or Class 3 bicycle, electric bike, and they feel that they need it on the trail, they have a right to go to the trail manager and get an authorization from her based on whatever need or conditions that they feel are germane. So that's more generous than the state is.
Right. And I think if we have a tracking mechanism, you know, if somebody calls and I give them authorization, we have some sort of like little card, like a, you know, just like a business
Like we do
card.
for handicap.
Yeah, like we do for handicap
Right.
folks. You know, we have one specific for the trail. We could get something, but I think try it for a year to actually see. Most of the people that are going to have e-bikes are older. I don't mean to mean anybody, are older. They're a little more respectful, and I don't mean that anywhere, but no. A little more respectful. The bikes are not free. They cost some money. I think we're going to have a lot less problem with that than originally I thought. So that's it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I believe that we definitely need an avenue for exceptions. In this situation, I think we provided that.
I believe so. Mr. Curtis?
Your average horse weighs almost 1,500 pounds. Do you know the speed of an average horse?
On the trail, it's a walk.
On the trail, I beg to differ with you. If you go out there and monitor it every day, the average horse can go 25 to 40 miles an hour. I'm not talking Pony Express.
Oh.
Do you know that the average bike riding...
Your point being?
My point being is you have a 1,500 pound animal that can go 40 miles an hour in the spring, summer, winter, or fall. You don't regulate them. Number two, we don't regulate the horses. If you did, you'd clean up all the horse dung out there.
Okay.
They're going over 15 miles an hour if they want to. But those things can damage the trail more than a bicycle, number one. And number two, Tour de France, I think his name was Denis, he won the first phase at 34 miles an hour, averaging over 40 miles an hour on his run. I just wanted to let you know that. And we do have bike riders out there that do go 35 miles an hour.
Okay.
So, you know, by regulating this Class 1, you can't regulate Class 1, they're going to be there. But Class 2, that's the assist to a physically impaired person. It's getting home from even a mile out.
And and I think, as you've heard, we're trying to make provisions that would accommodate that type of use.
I didn't hear that.
Okay, my apologies.
I didn't hear that.
That was in the motion.
What I heard was something a little different. We're going to have to register Class 2.
No.
Okay, but these horses are a bigger problem than bikes, so I just want to let you know that.
Okay, well, thank you. Mr. Dunn? I'm sorry.
Wouldn't it be cleaner just to say Class 1 and Class 2 are authorized, rather than having someone have to go through the problems? And I think it'd just be a little cumbersome, just keep it clean.
Well, we can, I'm sure the trail manager can do it over the phone under certain circumstances if it came to that, but maybe I'm wrong, but I'm really into the uniformity of keeping it the same as the state. The problems that we have are going to be the same problems the state has, and if the state has to deal with them, we'll have to deal with them. If we go with Class 2 and 3, remember, that opens it up for anybody that wants to use one, and they do have more capability than the class ones, which sound like a really, a good thing. That's my, I guess I was commenting, I apologize. I'll take one more comment. Yes, sir.
I think the main point here is a bicycle is a bicycle no matter what is powering it, whether it's a young man that can able to go 40 on it, or whether it's a 60-year-old man that don't want to go over 15 mile an hour. A bicycle's a bicycle. The only problem I can see your desire to limit it to 1 year, but if someone spends between $1,500 and $3,000 for a bicycle, he's not going to want to find out in a year's time that he can no longer ride the trail.
That's a good point. I think, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Wright.
Couple things.
Curtis, could you get closer to the microphone, please? I can't hear you. Thank you. Thank you.
Basically, the motion is to allow all three, in my opinion. So it's almost like we should just opt in and allow anything on the trail, whether you register it or not. The other item I want to do is I want to review this motion that we're opting in to allow a Class 1 electric bicycle, and we are authorizing the trail manager to approve a Class 2 or Class 3 electric bicycle and have a review in a 1-year period.
Right, I think the point I was trying to make was that we would have, that she would have the authority to review whatever conditions might accommodate a Class 2 or Class 3 use on the Pollyant Trail on a case-by-case basis. And I think that really does satisfy, if somebody has a need, they call the trail manager, a special need, and that way we don't have 25 and 30-year-old people that are indulging themselves in a fast electric bicycle, and they're putting it on a trail where they can, in effect, have an unlimited speed limit. So, Mr. Carnacchia.
Just real quick, is authorization and registration the same thing? Because you were using both words interchangeably.
Not in my opinion.
Because Bruce's
Not mine
motion
either.
originally said registration.
Yeah, and I suggested authorization, but...
So she's just going to authorize based on certain criteria. So
Right,
you're not going to have a master list, or you don't have to register.
Right, I wouldn't think so.
Okay, then just make sure, because you were kind of using that interchangeably.
Okay.
That was my thought.
Okay. All right. Do you want to, before we go...
Read the motion back,
Yeah.
if you would, please. I'd like to hear it.
A motion to opt in to allow a Class 1 electric bicycle on the Pollyant Trail. Class 2 and Class 3 electric bicycles are to be allowed at the authorization of the trail manager on a case-by-case basis, and the process is to be reviewed after a 1-year period.
I seconded it.
I can live with that.
Okay. All right, if there are no further questions from the council, we'll have a roll call vote, please. Mr. Curtis?
Treasurer Steele.
No.
Member Bizzardi.
Yes.
Vice Chair Wright. No. Member Nichols.
Yes.
Member Pearson.
Yes.
And Chairperson McDonald.
Yes.
Okay, motion does carry 4-2.
Okay. And folks, we can revisit it, and if circumstances require. I did just pass out a proposed policy, electric bicycle policy, that perhaps at our next meeting we can consider adopting it, because I think we should have something like that in lieu of the special circumstances that provide for it on the trail. No, you can keep that. Okay. That's just to get the conversation started, so to speak. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the Pollyant Trail events for upcoming. Please don't forget to sign the sign-in sheet when you leave. If
And
you
also
haven't.
put on there if you have a chainsaw and are willing to use it. and leave your phone number.
And do we have any events?
Yes, we do. Frank Racing Management, once again, has requested a 5K, half marathon, and 10K on Sunday, June 10th, and also on Sunday, September 9th. There are no other conflicts. That will be in Orion Township. So they did great last year. I don't see any reason we shouldn't do it. They will be forwarding their insurance and waivers accordingly.
Is that the only one?
That's it for now.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the
Frank-
council?
Frank Management.
Frank
Yeah.
Management.
Is there a motion then to authorize the events on the 2 dates for Frank Management? Is that Run Michigan? Is that what they call theirs?
It's called Frank Race Management, and it's Run Michigan Cheap. It's the actual name of the event.
Is there a motion then? To approve the dates, June 10th and September 9th?
September 9th.
Well, I'll move to approve the Pollyant Trail Run Michigan event scheduled for Sunday, June 10th, 2018, and for Sunday, September 9th, 2018, for the use of the Pollyant Trail.
Second.
All in favor of the motion authorizing the event, subject to the conditions stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay, at this time, the next item is to acknowledge the generous donation that the Clinton River Riders made. They donated $800 to the Pollyant Trail.
We sent them a nice little note. It's the second time that I'm aware. They donated last year and again this year for $800 to be used at our discretion. And they're a fabulous group of guys and gals. They ride a lot. I see them out there a lot. They're just great. And thanks a million. Thanks 100 million.
So we did give them a
lovely letter. Yeah, a very nice thank you letter and a little card.
they I don't know if it would matter to them, but that donations are tax-free.
They are yeah.
Okay, great. Yes, Donnie?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the donation and thank the Clinton River Riders for the $800.
Very good. Is there support? Support by Mr. Wright. Any questions?
Don't you have to accept these donations by motion?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
We want
I thought you had
to acknowledge them, so yeah, it's fine. All in favor of the motion to express the approval and thanks of the Pollyant Trail for the donation from the Clinton River Riders, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Again, that was for $800. Okay, we had a request from a private party requesting the use of the Pollyant Trail for other than trail purposes. It's you'll recall we just had some trail damage last year due to driving equipment on the trail. Well, this is a request from the same party via their attorney. I would recommend the council that we give our usual response, which is to refer them to the DNR and tell them that if the DNR is willing to give them the right-of-way to use the property, that we would then consider it ourselves. Is there any question or anybody?
What did they want to do, or who was it?
It's the Ausnamer, and they want to drive tractors and agricultural equipment on the trail 4 or 5 times a year.
I'd say no right off the get-go. We've gone around long enough with them.
Okay. All right.
I'll support that.
So is that a motion, Bruce?
Yeah, that's a motion.
Okay, is Donnie Steele supported? Is there any questions on the motion?
What was the motion?
The motion is not to allow them to use the trail.
Not to grant.
We have a lot of damage now. We've had to spend a large amount of attorney fees at the expense of Addison Township. And at this time,
it becomes burdensome because a lot of this becomes civil, and technically the Pollyant Trail should have their own attorney to handle civil because the Sheriff's Department and our prosecutor handles criminal. So I think we just have a big problem here between the civil and the criminal, and it's going to cost Pollyant Trail a lot of money to hire an attorney if they civilly damage the property and we can't get restitution, so.
Okay, Mr. Wright.
Are these case-by-case basis when they come out?
That's pretty much how we've done it, yes.
May I make, this has been reviewed by DNR several times, this particular case. Our DNR rep, Nikki Van Bloom, has stated several times, as has the real estate management person for the MDNR, they don't meet the criteria to use the trail in this fashion. I would like to request from the council maybe informing our representative, Van Bloom, and our real estate management person at the MDNR to actually address this and put this to bed once and for all. Send them a letter basically saying, you don't meet the criteria and this is it. I mean, we can send them a letter too, but this would be at a state level.
Our response will be just strictly whatever the motion is. I think we're not going to explain. We're just going to say we considered it and took a vote. So we have a motion and a support. Is there any questions on the motion? Hearing none. You know what? Let's do a roll call on this.
Okay, Member Pearson.
This
Yes on the motion.
Member Nichols.
Yes.
Vice Chair Wright, yes. Chairperson McDonald.
Yes.
Member Pizzardi.
Yes.
And Treasurer Steele.
Yes, and I have a question.
The motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Donnie?
Could you just have, why don't we just have the DNR write a letter too? I mean, why not? I mean,
Well,
would it hurt? I mean-
this request was addressed to the Pollyant.
Okay, then,
So
okay.
we have, as always, I have given Linda direction that when we get a right-of-way inquiry, the first course of action for anybody inquiring on the DNR controlled portion of the trail is that they have to contact the DNR. So,
Okay, thanks.
ready. Okay, quick update, Linda. I want to thank and acknowledge, I think the Pollyant Trail wants to thank and acknowledge the Detroit Institute of Arts. Linda, would you like to inform the council and the public what's going on?
We've been accepted by the DIA, Detroit Institute of Arts, to be one of their inside-out sites. We will have between 15 and 17 pieces of art from Joslyn Road in Orion Township all the way to Borman Road, right at the county border. It's a really nice program. Our communities are only eligible every other year because they want to make it accessible to everyone. We're trying to do a little workaround on that one because we do go through so many communities. So I'd like to see something out in all of the trail or part of the trail every year. They're great group to work with. They're just lovely. We went to the kickoff last night and we had a great time. I've had a couple volunteers that are stepping in to help me pick out some art and some locations for it. So that'll be coming later this summer.
So you're going to invite the local communities to suggest locations within each community?
Each area, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be kind of,
Right.
it'll be nice.
Well, I think it would be appropriate for there to be a motion and a support to thank the DIA and for their choice of the Pollyant Trail as part of the Inside Out program, kind of in the same vein as when we get a donation. And then we'll send a letter of acknowledgement and appreciation to them as well for choosing us. I'll make that motion.
Support.
All in favor of the motion?
Question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Wright.
What happens with the preservation of the artwork on the trail as far as graffiti being sprayed on paintings, those types of things?
That has happened on the trail before. A few years ago when it was in, I believe, Orion Township, and there was also one in the village of Oxford, it was spray painted. They do replace the art. This is a program that is absolutely no cost to the communities. It doesn't cost us anything to have the art installed. It doesn't cost us anything if it's vandalized, and then they take it away and clean it up, and it costs us nothing. It's free for it's free for the counties and the communities that they put the art in. So
Well, we do support the arts in Oakland and Wayne County as well, or Macomb, I believe, I think.
Macomb, Wayne.
Macomb, Wayne, and
Oakland, yeah. So, and it's free for all of the 3 counties to go down and see the exhibit. It's great.
Are there any other questions?
Well, one more.
Oh, okay.
The exhibit will be, what's the length of time in the exhibit?
We're in the second section, so we're in the later fall. They will have it removed by the end of October.
Do they install those?
They install it. We just tell them where it's going to go, and they come out, they do it. They monitor it a little bit, make sure there isn't any vandalism on it, and then they take it away when the exhibit's done. So,
Great.
yeah.
Okay, we have a motion before us. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay, Linda touched on it in her report, but she went ahead and made application for another grant for the Iron Belt Trail signage. Technically, we're responsible, so I just wanted to get a motion up front authorizing Linda to pursue this to completion, if that's amenable to the council. Mr. Nichols.
What is the total amount of the grant?
I did apply for, it's right at $5,100. I think it's $5,085 is the total amount for the grant. That is going to be for the design, manufacturing of 4-foot by 4-foot wayfinder signs with the Iron Bell logo on it. Like the ones we have on the trail right now, just kind of updating them with the new connections through Clarkson Road. A little more, better graphics. We kind of updated our graphics a little bit. And then installation.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Wright?
Is there a match with the grant?
It's not required, no. There's no match required. So we have gotten some in-kind services. So I did put that on there as an in-kind service. So there was some work that is being donated.
Okay. Anybody else on the council? Donnie?
I would like to make a motion to authorize the trail manager to submit a DNR grant for the amount of $5,085 for the Iron Belt Trail signage.
I'll support it.
Very good. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, I think we better do a roll call on that because it involves money.
Member Nichols?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wright, yes. Member Pearson?
Yes.
Member Pizzardi?
Yes.
Chairperson McDonald?
Yes.
And Treasurer Steele?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on, the bylaws and the intergovernmental agreement require the trail council to elect officers every year in January. So it is that time of year. I would like to remain on the council, but I would like to not be president or chairperson anymore. I've done it just about 4 years, and I'm a little overwhelmed at the moment with my other activities. And I try to support Linda and the trail as much as I can, but I know there's more that could be done, and I just haven't been able to do it. So I'll open it up. What is the pleasure of the council?
I'd like to make a motion that we keep Mike McDonald.
I'll second it.
Let's have a vote.
Do you have some changes? If we're going to have to change something, I think I'd worn him out. Worn him out.
That's what we
No,
do.
honestly, Linda makes a good point. I mean,
That's the way our government works, right?
she needs a strong leader. I mean, she needs someone that can give her the support, she needs, because she does a lot. I mean, this job really turned into a job after Linda became trail manager. There is a lot. There is a lot going on. She's just got a lot of things.
That's why I'm going to make the motion again.
He's gotten used to my 6 a.m. schizophrenic emails.
Well, you've all seen the packets, and you've all seen the agendas and some of the errors and whatever that get past me, so, was that a real motion, or?
That was a real motion, and we had a real second.
It's a real
I think
second.
we should vote on it.
Donnie, you had your hand up?
No, and I, no. Skip, sorry.
Second thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think you do have to take nominations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are there any,
I nominate Mike McDonald for president.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Linda, you can nominate someone. No, just kidding. No.
Mike McDonald. Yay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, okay. It's not what I really wanted.
I have a comment.
Donnie?
I'm happy to stay as treasurer, and I love the trail. I love the time that I put into it. I don't think that I could step up as chairperson to do the level of work that's needed to be able to keep up on it. And so I have thought about it, and I've been approached, and I'm willing to be a good backbone and stay in the position that I am. If somebody else would step up, I would support them in the best way that I know how.
Yes, Eldon.
I know that you don't want that job, or at least you're saying you don't want it, but I don't think anybody here actually has the heart that you do, the Pollyant Trail. They can lead the group. So I'd like to see you bite the bullet and
I do like doing it. I just don't feel like I'm doing it justice. You know, I just can't, no, it's just, I don't work it full-time, you know, as an official. So I have my regular job plus the village plus, you know, the other assignments that we all have. I mean, I know we all do a lot of other stuff, but
is it affecting your personal life at home, or? Because if it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, it could if I don't do it, I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
Bruce says we'll cut your grass.
Yeah, Bruce, you had me cutting grass last summer for you, for the township. Okay, if there are no complaints or I'll do it one more year, willingly, but Cody? No, one more year.
2 more years.
Well, you've been coaching that young man?
He's a politician.
Okay, all right. Are there any other nominations for chairperson? If none, you gonna stand by your motion, Bruce?
I stand by the motion.
I want to get this meeting moving.
I stand by the second.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
God love you, Mike.
Hearing none, all in favor of myself as chairperson, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Are there any nominations for vice chair? I nominate Mr. Wright.
I'll support that.
Although,
That's a great idea.
would you have a preference, Mr. Wright?
a preference of what?
One of any of the offices besides president or chair?
As the vice chair?
Yeah.
This is fine.
Okay.
I think he did a good job last year, so.
Can I nominate?
Absolutely.
You said I could nominate.
No, I'm afraid not. That's like picking your boss.
Isn't that happening?
I think
The
I
vice
just
chair
did.
automatically goes up to the chair next year after.
And some of these,
That's a training.
I like that.
That's what I thought.
I like that thought.
You be here and make a motion.
Okay, is there a motion, are there any other nominations for vice chair? Is there a motion then?
I make a motion to elect Mr. Wright as the vice chair.
I support.
Okay, any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Nominations for the position of secretary?
Who did we have as secretary before?
Ron Slawinski. He actually, I think he only made 2 meetings due to his schedule with school, so.
I would nominate Susan Basardi,
No,
secretary.
I can't.
I think we could, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
No,
Okay. We have a motion, and we have a second.
I have to decline. Really. I can't take on anymore.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Or you rescind your motion?
I guess I gotta resend it.
Okay. You mean, I could have done that? Okay.
Well, who has been doing the secretarial work? I mean,
Well,
you've been doing.
for all intents and purposes, our trail manager has fulfilled that office. But we are required as an organization to have a secretary. Mr. Nichols,
Yes,
will you
He
accept
said yes.
nomination?
I second that.
Okay.
I guess I'll do it, yes.
Okay, so there's not, Mr. Nichols was nominated by the chair as secretary. He accepted. Motion by Mr. Pearson
Yes.
for Mr. Nichols to
Yes.
be secretary. Was there support?
Secretary.
Can I enter somebody else in, Bruce Pearson?
Oh, nominations are closed now, sorry. Is there a second for that?
So I'll second that.
Donnie Steele? Any questions on the motion? All in favor of Mr. Nichols to be the secretary for the Pollyanna Trail Council, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Treasurer, I'll open it for nominations, but Donnie has indicated that she would be willing to accept. Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Donnie Steele. She's done an excellent job.
I agree. Thank you, Donnie. It's been a pleasure.
Well, and I have to thank Joe Ferraris, who does a lot of all of them.
Well,
So I appreciate Joe a lot.
well, you do this out of the goodness of your heart. So,
I'll support the nomination.
all right. Okay, nominations are closed then. Is there a motion then to approve Donnie Steele as the treasurer for the Pollyanna Trail? I'll make that motion.
No, I thought I
Oh.
already did. Bruce and Elgin.
Oh,
Now we're on the vote.
oh, okay. Then we'll vote, I guess. All in favor of Donnie Steele as the treasurer for the trail, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Donnie, you had something, item H, February?
Oh, you know what, I don't want any extra meetings at all. However, do we feel like, with the amount of stuff that we have coming, that we need one? And this would be the time to address it instead of waiting till March, or, so.
Well,
That's just,
Yeah.
I just don't know if we make these meetings too long, because we have a big gap, so.
Right. What's the pleasure of the council? Or do we want to have a meeting in February?
I have no problem with a meeting I have no problem with a meeting in February.
I don't either.
But it's up to you, Mike, it would be you and Linda, if you feel like you need one, you're the ones who are running.
What date would it be in February?
The 21st, which would mirror the March 21st, which we have to do to correct our meeting schedule. Item 11A.
What do you think, Mike? Do you have a comment? Do you have a comment, or Linda?
I don't think, unless the council thinks, I have long meetings anyways, you can ask Bruce. So, I don't know how to do a short meeting. So, we don't need to, I don't think it will improve the speed. It's just the number of items that we have to cover. Today is the exception because of the public hearing, but I don't see the need for it, but it's entirely up to the council.
I'm going to need to buy some stuff, so I don't know if you want to do that today, or I'd have to get bids. I need to get a postal digger. I have some preliminary bids and some equipment that I need. Postal digger is one of them.
You included that in your
Correct.
report, right?
Correct.
It is in the packet for the
Correct.
council. Okay, well, we'll do that under unfinished business then, just to move through. Is there anyone that wants to have a meeting in February?
I'll be in Florida.
Okay. If not, let's move on.
Made it all the way there?
Let's move on to unfinished business. Linda updated us, the Tanview letter to the property line trespass has been sent. Boardman has been restitution and repairs made, although it is open-ended because once the thaw comes out, the repairs should be completed on the trail up by Boardman Road. At last month's meeting, we created an ad hoc committee to investigate getting attorney services for the Pollyant Trail. And we said we would consider it in February, but we need to move that to March 21st. Yes.
We had many issues, 52 lawsuits for encroachments on the Paint Creek Trail. And we had 2 that came up on yesterday's meeting and 1 from the previous year. And so they have a whole ordinance, and I'd just like to share it with Linda, and then I could give it to the board, maybe just take a look at it for the future. And if we could adopt it, then we have a procedure to follow. You get a letter. Plan 2 is that you follow up, you have so much time to respond to the letter, you have to make good. I mean, it gives you all that stuff. So maybe if we have a procedure in place that we can just say, okay, we have an encroachment, send it out. So I'm going to give you this,
I think that's.
and I'll email it to everybody else.
Email it to me.
Okay. So we'll make that change. I'm just advising council of that we'll have the ad hoc committee report in March. And then old business, I was told that originally when we approved our meeting schedule that the wrong date was given for March. So if it was wrong, it is March 21st. We're all in agreement on that. Is there any question? Okay. Yes.
I believe we should have a motion to amend our approved meeting,
Okay.
our annual meeting schedule, and then we can have that on.
Okay, I'll make a motion then to amend the annual meeting schedule for the Pollyant Trail to March 21st, which is a Wednesday.
In Oregon?
Yes, it is at Orion. Is there support for the motion?
Support.
All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay. All right, council, with your indulgence, shall we consider the request from the trail manager to get some authorizations for purchasing at this time?
I think we should.
Okay.
I'll make quick, I swear to God, first, quick.
Go ahead, Chris.
We need to address the 1018 suspects. Did I miss that?
You missed that.
Yeah, I made reference to Linda and talked about it in the trail manager's report, and
Okay.
it's in process.
We did send out a violation notice.
Right,
Okay,
right.
so-
Yes.
Well, this year, I've got, I need some more trimmers. They're about $40 a piece. There are, on the list, I have 2 trimmers at $90 each for a total of $180. These are a different type of trimmer. They're much more substantial. They cost twice as much, but I'm hoping they'll last 4 times as long. I'm spending $40 a piece on these trimmers, and they're not lasting more than a season. I mean, at some point, if we put a little more money into our equipment, we're going to have it a little bit longer. I check them in, I check them out. I know what goes out, I know what comes in. So nothing's walking away or getting lost or left on the trail, and I'm out there. They're not busting it up. I looked at the gas-powered post hole digger with an 8-inch auger. We're looking at about $860. I'm going to try and get a better deal on that. That is a one-man, actually we use it with 2-man, Honda motor. It's a nice little one. It's the one we rented from Home Depot. Works great on the trail. Just your normal gloves, safety glasses. The leaf blower that we had, the backpack leaf blower, died. It's dead. To get a new one of comparable quality, it's about $600. It basically is guaranteed if it falls off the back of a pickup. I do need to get some more stop signs. If last year's any indication, a few are going to walk off. I am missing a couple out by Koenig's. I did talk to George out there, and he's going to fabricate some posts for me so I can put the signs up, but I do need to have a couple of those on hand. I mean, if something disappears, I need to be able to put it out there within a couple of days, not a couple of weeks waiting for authorization and order. The Leonard fountain is working great. It's close to the season. However, we're having a problem with the rust. The water out there is pretty bad. I did go to Global Industries, which is the company we bought the fountain from. They have a filter system that attaches to the well. It has to be in the well house. It runs through the well system and it purifies the water. The rust filter, with a filter included, is $104. The rust filter replacement is $96. So it's almost easier to buy a new unit every time we need it. It should last a season. So you're looking at about a $100 filter a season. So we can try it, see if it works.
Are you getting complaints, or is it just?
Yeah, the water's bad.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was
We
high
knew.
minerals.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to kill you. It's certified 3 times a year by the health department. It's fine. It's not. But
How
it
deep,
just,
I'm sorry, how deep is that well?
I believe it's about 120 feet.
yeah. It's just rusty.
And it's,
I was talking to a well digger last week. He said within that area, he said if you go too deep, he says you'll end up with iron.
Yeah.
So it could be the problem. He said if you just pull the pipe up a hair or something.
I don't even know. That's way out of my.
Yeah, that well is tricky at
That
best.
the well's been there
Yeah.
over 10 years now.
I do know that if you put iron filters on there, as bad as it is, they're gonna clog up quickly.
Right. They're guaranteed for so many gallons, and I think that we're not going to get a lot of gallon usage out of that. People fill their water bottles, drinking fountain, that sort of thing. They're not going to be filling bathtubs or toilets or anything like that. So,
I order them by the case,
Yeah.
okay, and that's to fill a swimming pool, and they're actually, I get them for $20 a piece,
Right.
and they're good for 10,000 gallons, each one of them. And they're just plastic, and anybody can slip them right on, just like on a hose bib. And you can buy them at all the pool supply places for $20 a cartridge. In 10,000 gallons, I fill a whole swimming pool with one cartridge. So, I mean, I don't think we use that much water at the drinking fountain over there.
I use the same type of filter you're talking about, very inexpensive.
yeah. So I think we should look into something like that and try to keep it, under $100, $104. And if we can get the filters at a cheaper rate, by all means. I'll go over to Addison and steal a couple and just see how they work for a while. Just borrow them for you.
Okay, well, Linda, can you, look, some of these items are going to require quotes. I mean,
Right.
You can purchase gloves, safety glasses, filters, and miscellaneous hardware
Right.
on your own within the the budget limitations that are set up for the trail manager. But if the trimmers, the auger, the leaf blower, and even the stop signs probably should be quoted from at least three quotes, competitive,
Okay.
before you purchase.
Okay, so I'll get 3 quotes for the digger with the auger, the cameras, the leaf blower, and the stop signs.
Right.
How many trimmers?
I'm looking at 12 this year, but I'd like to get 2 of a higher quality to really give those a test. The ones that we got last year and the ones we had the years prior, they bend. They're not a very sturdy metal, the handles, and you put any torque on those things and they bend. And then they're no good. So if we I'm just trying to spend a few dollars now to save a lot of dollars later on.
Now, you mentioned the camera also.
There is the cameras, we have several cameras on the trail right now. This is the same brand that we are using on the trail that Orion Township uses and Paint Creek Trail uses. This is a new system that they have, or a system that I've just stumbled upon, where you can network 15 of these cameras together at one time. You can house all the relays into what they call the mother camera. Once the mother camera is placed somewhere.
I'm familiar with the system, actually.
Oh, okay, perfect.
How many cameras are you looking for?
I'm thinking 5. If we can get 5 that we can.
But for
link
immediate
it.
purchase, how many are you? Are
5.
you thinking 5 for immediate purchase?
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper. They're well over $200 a camera if we buy them in a bulk without the SIM cards and without the cages, which I'm trying to get a package deal together. Just the cameras, instead of $200 a piece, $750 for for the package of 4 cameras.
Okay, well, you know how we do this.
Yeah,
We
bids.
we have in the past given authorizations subject with a cap on the amount of money. So are these figures here what you're saying authorized up to sub?
With the exception of the cameras.
Okay. And
'Cause
you're-
if we decide to go for a different type of camera, the one that networks together, they are a little more expensive because of the networking system.
Curtis?
The sheet indicates $161 per unit.
That is correct. Those are the type of units we have right now with the bare cages and the SIM card attached. The problem with the units we have right now, you have to go out and you mount them. You have to physically go out and pull the SIM card and download the pictures on site, or take the SIM card back and download the pictures. So you physically have to take a ladder up to that camera every single time. With the new system that you can network, you only pull one card, and it has all the pictures for all the cameras.
Okay, so how much is one of those cameras?
They're $207 a unit. Each, without a SIM card and without a bare cage. I'm trying to work on a number for a package. I just found it out last night.
Okay, so,
I don't have
so what you have on the sheet here for cameras,
It's
we're
the
not,
old
we're not
one.
going to consider that.
Yeah, don't
Okay.
consider that one.
Okay.
Are you going to need a couple of SIM cards, you know?
Each camera will need a SIM card, so,
All right.
and then they will network together with the mother camera.
So you'll figure that estimate as well.
Right, and I'll bring it to the next
Okay,
meeting in
good.
March.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
'cause
you're not, so you want to, so, oh, you're just
Table
going to
the
get
cameras for
quotes
now.
now?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll get quotes for the cameras, because I want to do a package deal where I have the SIM card and the bare cages all at the same time.
All right, so what would you like from us today? Authorization to purchase what?
I would like to get trimmers, I would like to get gloves, safety glasses, and I'd like to research and find a filter for the Leonard fountain. It doesn't, if you would like me to get bids, I can do that. We won't need it actually until we open the fountain in the spring, and then I will get estimates for the rest of it.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to see her come back with a total bid of everything, what the cost is going to be, and then make the, do the action then.
Okay, well, none of this has to be purchased right
No,
away.
no, I'm just
So-
putting it out
so
here
you
now
wanna
for
au-
thinking
So you
about.
want authorization from the council to go out for bids or quotes?
Correct, and just,
Okay.
this is what I need
Okay.
this year, so.
Okay,
You don't need anything between now and March.
Yep, between now and March, I'm good. I'll just get the bids and make sure everything is,
okay. All right, well then,
yeah.
then,
It's not really a motion item, I just wanted to make it known.
okay,
I want to
okay.
make
I
it
know
known.
you
Right.
make money now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want-
I got that impression too.
Yeah, I just, I
Okay.
want to
So
make
you
it
don't need
known.
anything now?
Mr. Wright?
The trimmers for $40, are we talking hedge trimmers? We talking?
They're actually the loppers, the hand loppers that have the extended reach that you can trim branches, small branches, 1 inch.
This is Wham Crew stuff,
Wham Crew
basically.
stuff.
She
Yeah.
wants
Yeah.
a couple $90 ones too.
Yeah,
What are the $90 trimmers?
they're exactly the same, but they're made out of a better product, so I'm hoping that they will last more than a season, because I'm burning through these things. So if we're spending $40 every single year on a trimmer, if I can get these to last 3 years, we're ahead. So,
Okay,
you
all right, well, bring the quotes back and we'll see if we'll open up the checkbook or not.
It's a pretty thing.
Okay. When do we go out for bids for mowing and weed control or grass control? Are we going to do that this year?
I would like to ask that when we do the mowing contracts this year, that we do it for 2 years instead of 1 year. It's costing us a fortune every year to do this. It's time consuming. I would like to go out for bids for 2 years with an option at our leisure of a 3rd year. So we don't have to go out and do the bid.
So if we advertise for the March meeting, is that too early?
No, I think if we advertise, if I put an ad in the paper now,
Okay.
or within the next couple of weeks,
Well, we have to
soliciting
do
bids.
it with no less than 2 weeks prior to the
March
meeting.
yeah.
So that would be beginning of, end of February. beginning.
And now, do you want them to send me the sealed bids and we open here? Do you want, like Diane or Mr. Wright or Mr.
That's what
Griswold?
we've done in the past, is receive sealed bids.
Right.
And then I think we authorized the trail manager and another council member to open them prior to the meeting so that they could be collated. I think Joe Young. had
Joe
used
Young
that
has done it in the past.
In the past, so we'll find a volunteer.
Okay. Mr. Right, he volunteers, huh?
That's fine, I'll volunteer for it.
Okay.
You'll have where the bids are due at, correct?
Right.
Location?
So is that what we're doing for between now and March, or is that going to be at the March meeting?
It sounds like we're going to have the public hearing, or not public hearing, we're going to have the bids open or produced at the March meeting for our approval or acceptance.
Okay.
Which is, we moved it forward. We used to do it later in the year.
Yeah, no, so we don't need.
Yeah, let's do a motion
Yeah.
to change the contract term and to authorize the trail manager to solicit bids, sealed bids
For 2 years?
for 2 years.
With the option of a third.
With the option of a third? Okay.
That's
I'll make
my
that.
motion.
I'll make, okay.
Oh, and then I support
It's
your
Donnie's motion and I'll support it. Okay. Is there any question on the motion? All in favor of the motion to authorize the trail manager to solicit bids, publishing an ad for for trail mowing for a period of 2 years with a third-year option? Mr. Wright?
Just a question, are the bids going to be open at the meeting or at the place of, whatever's the name?
Oh,
Previously, what we've done with Joe Young, when he was opening the bids would come in to either, I would have sent to here or to the P.O. box. Then you and I would open the bids together and then present them at the meeting.
Okay, so it'll be advertised.
and that'll be part of my motion. That'll be, that we'll authorize the trail manager and Mr. Wright to open the bids after the receipt date and present them for the council. It just speeds things up rather than going through it at the meeting. So there's a motion and support. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay. Sorry it's taking so long, folks. Is there any public comment? Nothing? Okay. Board member comments? Any comments? I think we're all
I
topped
just
out.
have one real quick. As you know, Linda, we had a big ordeal here last week in the courts. I'd like to thank the court, and I'd like to thank the jury. I'd also like to thank Mike McDonald and his wife. They attended the hearing, and I'd like to also thank Sergeant Weir from our Sheriff's Department. Did an excellent job as far as the prosecution was concerned and putting the case together. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but that's one of the things that sometimes I guess we all have to go through, and you went through with flying colors, so I thank you for all your
Thanks, Bruce.
your time that you had to spend there. I was advised not to go, and I spoke with Mike ahead of time on that because he was trying to use all kinds of out-of-line defenses, and
Bruce keeps me on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
But Linda, you know the Pollyanna Trail Council, and each of us, I'm sure personally, we've been behind you through it, and we wish it had not happened and didn't have to go to these lengths. And your husband, too, deserves thanks, because it's not easy.
I'll tell you, Sergeant Weir is top notch.
I just want to let you know, in the jury, it was an all-day trial, and I think it was almost 5 o'clock. The jury took only about, 8 or 9 minutes?
Yeah, I think it
Come
might have
back
been
guilty
10.
on all
Yeah.
charges, so
Yeah.
that was very, very good. So it was sorry you had to go through that, though.
Thanks, Bruce.
Nice comment.
Yeah. And I just want to thank Chairperson Mike McDonald and his fabulous wife Debbie. And they stuck it out all day with me and my poor husband. And, I just, Sergeant Weir, Addison substation up there, they're all just such a bunch of good guys up there.
Just so you know, I had to fight to get Sergeant Weir out there, okay? Because he's so valuable that he's valuable throughout the county, but
I know,
like I said, we
he's top
wanted
notch,
the best
top
too,
notch.
so we did get him, and I'm glad that he's out there to protect all of
Yeah. And he's very approachable, very friendly, and he knows a lot of the people, and he's just really good. Officer Hummel, great guy. I know he's from, over Grand Blanc area, but, he was out there that day, so he helped me out. So thanks. Thanks again, everybody.
All right, there are no further comments. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
I move to adjourn at 5:16.
Sorry, Bruce.
All in favor, is there support?
And we're not gonna have dinner brought in? I'll support that.
I wondered why you were still here. All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Next meeting's March
What's the
24th
rule
in
that
Orion.
after